We know that being a geek isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Join us as we invite special guests to share their love for the characters and worlds that shaped them. Are you ready? It's time to let your geek side show. We had a chance to sit down with voice actors Steve Blum, known for his work as Wolverine and Spike Spiegel, and Dee Bradley Baker, the voice behind countless creatures and characters in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, for a very animated discussion about their work. Let's listen.
The question for Dee is, how long do you typically spend in a studio recording, and how many episodes do they typically record at the same time?
Of which show?
See? Remember how I asked you guys for specifics of which show?
I'm sorry, I'm being a jerk.
No,
Well, generally speaking, in voiceovers, you're going to be in the studio anywhere from 10 minutes or to possibly 4 hours, although typically it's not that long.
Huh.
It's usually done in a more compact kind of way, and depends if you have the whole cast with you or if you're being individually recorded and then they kind of Frankenstein it together, they cobble it together later. So it's different every show, and with different episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw a question that I'm particularly fond of, and that's, how do you approach doing a different but similar voice for the clones? Because each clone has its own voice and its own personality.
Yeah.
So,
well, Dave Filoni and I, we worked out, we had kind of a triangle of that like one of the points of it, one of the corners of it was status, and one was I can't remember what the other 3 points were, but each one, before we would read through the script, we would define essentially that character's kind of age and status and their angle on things. You know, if they were a heavier, more aggressive clone, or if they were newer or they were younger, and if there are any particular characteristics that you could maybe describe with an adjective or two.
like, oh my god, I'm totally blanking on the clone who worked in the, like, he was like the older clone that there was something wrong with him.
Oh, 99.
Yes.
Yeah. Beginning of season 3, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite clones.
Yeah, because he was. Like, how did you get him out of, like, I'm fangirling out right now because and so I can't speak.
He's he's really, I mean, the key comes from the script. It starts with the script and kind of what they intended this character to be. In his case, he's older, but he's not feeble. He's actually, as it turns out, quite competent and heroic, and
has skills that most of the other clones don't have.
Yeah,
because he's had to go through different life experience than they do.
Yeah, and so he's like this old, kind of wise, kind, but still competent and capable character. And so you have to dial in something that makes him sound a little older, maybe a little softer, more eager to help and eager to please, but still willing to step up and sacrifice himself and to do what he needs to do to move the cause to the finish line, which he does, heroically and tragically.
Oh my God!
He has a great. I mean, he's one of the great kind of heartbreaking,
so many feels
clone deaths stories of the whole series. One of my very favorite clones is 99.
Yeah,
love him to pieces.
I think you remember because I texted you after I watched that episode for the first time, and I was like texting you in tears about it. You guys are hearing a lot about all the things I cry about today. Yeah. Earlier today we were talking about how I cry about concept art because I see concept art for a statue and I'm just so moved by it that I just start crying.
But it should do that. This is not just pretty pictures and crazy characters, but these are things that should touch you and that should impact you and speak to you, and they do. I mean, that's something I've come to see. I never did a fan convention until Clone Wars. That was my first one, and that's when I really came to see how much the things that we make and the characters that we create, that we help create, that voice actors help create, it's a collaborative process. We're just part of it. We're not all of it. But how much that touches people and how much that means to people. And that's not just, the stereotypical convention fan, but this is families, this is people in the military, this is regular people who just really latch onto a character or a show or even a scene or a song from a show, and it can get them through a really tough time in their life. It can be part of the glue that holds their family together. It can be all of these things that are like signposts and things to aspire to in their life. And that's what we bring with these characters. That is the heart that really grabs onto you of what these characters are, I think. And that's why these things endure. That's why they just don't slide away. That's why Star Wars is stronger than it's ever been. I mean, I'm envious of those who are Star Wars fans these days, because you get a new Star Wars movie every year, plus there's a television series going on, plus, all sorts of literature and everything else. And man, when I was a kid into this, you had to wait a number of years before another one came around the bend.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think everybody in the room can completely agree with everything you just said. We're all like, should we clap yet? Should we clap? Like you just kind of nailed it. Yeah.
Mark on Facebook wants to know, do you ever use any props or special techniques to help you get into character?
Props or special techniques to get into character. I can't say that I do. The props or special techniques is to look at the script and then to look at the artwork, if there's any artwork. That can be really helpful. And then ultimately just talk to the show creator, the creative decision maker who is directing the session. And then from that, you triangulate the tone and the beat that needs to be hit with the character. And so, as I said before, I think it's easy to like see us up on a panel and think, oh, there's the character. It's like, that is the voice, that is the performance that generates the character. But there's a lot of collaboration that goes into bringing that voice to life. And in addition to the visuals and everything else that's going on, so there's really an army that creates any of the characters that we are so happy to be involved with. Yeah.
Show them how you play your face.
How I play my face?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I'm being asked to show how I play my face.
I don't know what that means, but I want to see it.
Well, boys and girls, the face is like an instrument that you can play at home. It's just something that you start messing with the chambers and the pockets and the flesh of the face. You can start with the interior, where of course you've got your voice, which like that, but you can also use parts of the inside of your voice, like a like that, where that's all with an inhale, and you can find places to put that, and then you can also modify it in addition by you can start way up high in your sinuses, and then you give it a larger resonance by blocking off the column of air by plugging my nose. So instead of it's a like that. So it's a bigger, more horrifying sound. And then, if you choose, if it's appropriate to the character, you can, like dial in various, like you can dial in the uvula as that. I sometimes will dial in the uvula.
Hashtag dial in the uvula.
Now this, in a week or two, this will probably be something that's not appropriate anymore, that you can't do. But for now, you can make a to a. Like that. So you've got a whole nother thing flapping around in there that's modifying the performance.
Chat is exploding right now.
You can try this.
Exploding right now.
You can try this at home. So the same thing works with an inhale. If you want to do like a creature roar or a monster roar, I'd prefer to do it with an inhale voice because it hurts my voice less to go like that. That actually feels good to me. But so if you want like a T-Rex or something that's going like that, or you want it even bigger, you go. You can. It's.
This is amazing.
See, I'm just taking it over. I'm sorry.
Oh my my God.
See, if you ask the jester to show off, the jester's going to just go to town. So
Well, someone was asking about creatures that you voiced before, and I think we just kind of answered that question with sort of like a active demonstration.
Yeah, for instance, with the uvula with Momo.
That's who they were asking about, Momo.
Oh, right. Well, that's done with an inhale with a... like that. I think we just need to train the camera on you. You're like one of those YouTube videos where just like, this is what I look like when I'm doing this thing.
Oh my God.
That's the show.
No.
And then with Perry the Platypus, that's an exhale, but it's also using the uvula, boys and girls. It's a like.
So
like that.
I didn't realize until just this moment that you voiced Perry the Platypus?
Yes. Oh, Perry the Platypus.
Oh my God.
Perry the Platypus was the most amount of money for the least amount of work I've ever done, or ever will do. That took about half a minute worth of work and they just put it in every single show. But yeah, so that there again, I'm looking at the artwork and kind of looking at the character of the creature, and then just trying to dial in something that delivers that without damaging me. And that's what I do. That's a lot of what I do. Is that kind of weird?
And when did you realize that you could do all this?
Well, I've always liked doing weird things on a stage. I mean, I like, doing a show and speaking words and singing. I like doing that too. But when I started doing stand-up and improv, I tended more towards doing character and then stuff that was just a vocalization or weird sounds, like a baby crying or a... I mean, part of what I used to do, I do a giant praying mantis singing Mozart. I just do weird vocal stuff. And I just did it because I thought it was fun and stupid and people would laugh and point. But it brought me no money. It brought me no gain other than just, vanity. But once I came out here and was kind of a comedic actor and started doing voiceovers, which I think suited me because I like jumping into different characters, that I saw that there was a need for creatures and animals and monsters and things. And I like pushing myself to do weird stuff. And I've seen a lot of monster movies, and I like animals a lot, and I like biology. I thought I was might be like a bio major or a pre-med major in college, and so it just kind of that kind of line of work fit with what I like to do and how I think of the world. And so I just started practicing sounds for that and discovering things I can do that could be useful as a performer, as a performance. So I have control over it and can give it range of expression. And that's what I'm brought in to do. Wow.
And Zach Lewis is asking, what character or sound are you really good at doing but haven't had the opportunity to do yet? I mean, look at his IMDb page. He's had, he's done a lot.
What I'd like to do... Yeah. What would I like to do that I haven't had a chance to do yet? I'm not sure. I actually don't... Maybe I'm more passive than I should be, but I just kind of take what they throw at me and try to be ready to roll with whatever it is that is needed. So I'm constantly working on sounds and adding performance angles that can just have a broader palette from which to paint, is kind of how I think of it. Wow. But I'm not really angling towards anything in particular, because a lot of that, if you're thinking about it, it's like, I'd really like to do Bullwinkle, or I'd really like to do, a particular voice, and I don't really want to do that in particular. I want to do something that's unexpected or new or unprecedented. I think I'd rather do that.
Now, someone's asking if you collect anything. Do you collect anything personally?
I wouldn't call myself a collector, but I like to amass items of
I think that's
interest.
Called a hoarder.
Okay, I'm a hoarder. I like to hoard things. But it's not like I never go to have an entire series of something. But if I see something I really like the Ray Harryhausen Cyclops, I got that from the Sinbad movies. I got that for myself from what's that place on Magnolia in Burbank that's really awesome?
Creature Features?
Creature Features, yeah. Creature Features. I got that for myself for Halloween. Ooh. And just have it on a shelf. Just, friends to have waving at me on my bookshelf.
Like, hey.
Hey, stop. Hey.
All right. Well, we are going to have another video break, and when we come back, Steve Blum is going to join us, so this is only going to get crazier. You're watching Sideshow Live. We'll be right back.
Hey, bub, I'm back.
Oh my gosh.
I forgot my claws though this time.
You forgot your
I
claws?
forgot my claws,
Oh my
yeah.
God. Well, why are you even here?
I know. I should. Okay, I'll be gone.
No, come back. We have a very special guest, Steve Blum. Well, we have had like very special guests all day, but Steve.
I just
Blum
got to watch Dee Bradley Baker. I was fangirling over there.
I'm still like I need to stop blushing. I'm like still all red from like listening.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I work with him almost every day, and I still freak out when he does that stuff. It's incredible.
So cool.
I was just saying to him before this started that you guys should create a Dee Bradley Baker figure with playable face.
And with a sound box.
With a sound box, yeah.
So when you
hire him to do the sound for it.
And when you like pull on different, like he goes like,
all that.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. With flapping uvula. Yes. With aggressively flapping uvula action.
Articulated uvula. So at that point, do we say
that's a good warm-up exercise.
31 points of articulation, including articulated uvula?
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but it's hot.
Yeah. Someone in the comments is saying that Wolverine has the best butt in comics. Do you agree?
Absolutely. That's the only reason I wanted to voice him. I didn't care about the rest of it.
You're like the best butt.
Which superhero has the best butt? That's the one I want.
We have another video, and when we come back, they're both going to be here. So watch out.
DNA. Yeah.
You're watching Sideshow Live. We'll be right back.
Hide your.
No, they're both here. That's going to be a screenshot too. So we've been collecting your questions all show, and one of the first ones that everybody started asking is, you guys both work on Rebels.
Yes.
Rebels is ending.
Yep.
Right.
How are you feeling about that?
Sad.
I want to keep working at a Star Wars show, and it makes me sad too.
You don't want to see them start crying because everything gets wet. It's awful.
Oh no.
It's really awful. No, it's really sad. It's very sad. But the good thing is that they get to do it the way they had intended, which wasn't necessarily the case for the ending of Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And being a Star Wars fan, I love that the creators of the show get to do this the way their vision was laid out. So
I think a lot of fans feel that way.
They do to get to finish it off, and Star Wars kind of has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a whole epic conflict that is being portrayed, and they get to finish it.
Yep.
And I'm glad that they get to do that.
Yep.
With Clone Wars, they didn't, but I'm glad they have that. It's very sad to see it finish, though. It's such a great team, and it is such a great show. That's
such a good show.
It's really had some very, just for me personally as a Star Wars fan, that were just very exciting moments, and really satisfying all the way through. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it. You guys did such a great job as the crew on that.
Oh, thanks, dude. I'm just excited that I finally get to take some time off with Hot Callus and go visit some vacation planets somewhere.
Awesome. So what were some of your favorite episodes of Rebels?
Oh, there's so many.
Right.
One of my favorites was, I think it was really early on when Rex came into the picture, and we were fishing. You guys were fishing for the...
Slinging for Jupas.
Yeah. Slinging for Jupas and using me as bait. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Just hilarious. It was terrifying, though, for me, because especially with Gregor, who, after the explosion in Clone Wars, and he came back and he's like a little off, and they wanted to play him, not as this ARC trooper, but as this kind of off, wacky character, and I really didn't know if that was going to work.
It was so great.
I didn't know until we saw it. It's like, I buy this, and it does work.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different angle, but I think it works, and I was greatly relieved But I think, for me personally, my favorite moment was with Darth Vader's return. That was really thrilling to me. And Darth Vader and Ahsoka, that whole showdown was also very exciting. I wish I could see more of that. I love that.
I was honestly surprised at how terrifying Vader was in that format.
Yes.
On a small screen. It was amazing. It was a great interpretation of him.
So good.
And to get him back, the voice of Vader back in to do that with us. I wish
Were you guys in the studio
my only regret was that we didn't get to be in the studio at the same time. He was in New York. I think he was doing a play. But
oh my gosh!
But just to hear,
but the moment also when Ahsoka broke the mat, and Ahsoka is very, very, as I assume to everybody, she's very, very dear to the Star Wars universe, and her moment of realization was just heartbreaking, but powerful, insanely powerful.
Well, it was really cool, too, that Dave Filoni, in his infinite wisdom, and the crew over at Lucasfilm brought back these characters from Clone Wars and integrated them into the story. And I remember going to Comic-Con and bringing you guys out on stage, and all of us were screaming. We were so excited that you were part of this.
They announced that when they played the trailer, and you could hear Rex's voice in the trailer.
Yeah.
And that was a very loud room.
Yeah, I will never forget that moment. It's one of the greatest panel moments I've ever had.
Well, you were just speaking to the fact that Clone Wars did not get to end the way that you guys wanted to, so this is kind of a really nice way to bring these characters back who everybody loved from that show and give them their ending.
Yeah. And also, at the same time, be connective tissue to the first Star Wars movie.
Absolutely.
And Rogue One and everything else that...
Yeah. So who's your favorite rebel that you don't play?
I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but Chopper.
My 3-year-old niece loves Chopper.
Yeah.
Her first Star Wars is now Rebels.
Yeah.
And she's 3, so she just sees colors and awesome happening, And so, but when she sees Chopper, she goes, "Ha, bad robot." And I'm like, "Bad robot? That's just Chopper. You don't understand what you're." That's also a company, but
Yeah. Well, I'm 57. I still have that reaction.
Bad robot. Yeah.
Oh, they built so much personality into it, like they did with R2, but it's just a whole different animal. Yeah.
I just remember in those Meet the Characters that Dave Filoni did before right before the first movie, when he was like, if R2's a dog, Chopper's a cat,
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
And I just was like,
oh, I never heard that.
Yeah.
That's really appropriate.
Yeah.
Except he always misses the cat box. Yeah. So you have to clean up after him when you go to visit. It's the only way I get to visit Lucasfilm. I have to clean up after Chopper.
You're like, all right.
Well, dust back up there.
Yeah. So, your favorite rebel that you don't play?
It's probably gonna be Hera. I really love the female characters and how Ahsoka really led the way with that, and that there's even more in this present season. And I think it's great. Having 2 daughters myself, and it's a universe that includes all these different kinds of characters and people and gender, and it's I think that is important, and I love that.
Agreed. I mean, without Leia was always the center of all of that moving forward, and now we have Hera and Ahsoka and Rey
and Sabine
and Jin.
Amazing.
We have Forces of Destiny.
I love that. I love that women are finally getting their due and respect.
I mean, we would argue that Leia's been here all along. But,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, she was the one who kind of broke the barrier there.
Oh, yeah.
And so many amazing women have followed in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's exciting to see that in the room, too. And how powerful they become in the show. Just the way they've written the stories for them, too, and to flesh it all out.
And I mean, we even heard about Hera in Rogue One when they did the call for her.
Yeah. General Syndulla.
Yep.
So cool.
Yeah.
So how do you guys feel hearing your voices when you watch something that you're acting in? Is there a disconnect, or are you like, oh, that's me? That seems like
It's not impressive.
I mean, I think everyone here would argue that it is. We just watched you play your face. That's impressive.
Well, Dee and I talked about this with your daughters also, and how you would read them stories, and they would say, no, Daddy, just
That was the quote from my oldest. Is,
Talk normal, Dad. Talk normal.
And
like,
every
honey, I'm
other kid is like, do voices.
I'm trying to read you The Hobbit. I can do all these great voices. For
Normal, Daddy.
So did you, when you found out you were having your first child, did you think about like, oh my God, I get to read my kid The Hobbit in all these voices?
Yes.
These are these.
Yes.
And then.
Yes, and she shut me down.
Yeah.
There was none of that. She wanted to hear Dad. She doesn't want to hear like the foundation of my universe is now spouting weird voices, and that's not what a kid wants. It turns out. Who'd have thought? But a kid just wants to hear Dad sound like Dad. So that makes perfect sense, actually, and I was okay with that. It took me aback momentarily. My performer's vanity was.
I just intimidated my children into pretending they like to hear the character voices.
Well, you do. I mean, Spike and Wolverine.
Yeah, but they didn't care. One of my sons is right here, Brandon. He didn't, as I recall, when you were little, you didn't care about the anime stuff at all. You didn't really understand it. You were too young, really, to be watching that stuff.
I'm a big Digimon fan.
Digimon, yeah.
Well, that kind of a voice is fun for a kid to hear anyway.
But doing something in my normal speaking voice and it's fighting and whatever, you guys were watching Disney movies and stuff. You really didn't care about any of that until I started doing video games, and it was cool because your friends liked those games. That's what made me cool, I think. I think that was the turning point. So
the most impressive thing I ever did, I think, in the eyes of my kids was do one episode of a show called Big Time Rush.
Oh, yeah.
That was an on-camera kind of a boy band series on Nickelodeon that I was brought in like for one day to play the wacky guest teacher, just chewing the scenery and just a totally ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun. But it's like, to a kid, that's impressive. Is an on-camera series, not so much a voice acting.
I listened to an interview with Idina Menzel where she was talking about how her son uses the fact that she's Elsa to like pick up girls. Like, my mom's Queen Elsa.
Wow.
Because he's in like middle school now. Yeah. So I'm like,
Stone Cold Frozen.
yeah, that's awesome. So do either of you read Star Wars comics?
Sadly, no.
No, I don't. I don't have time for comics or really much TV or movies, unfortunately. If I had time, I would, but I just don't have time these days.
Fair enough. So, okay, this is one of my questions. In Rogue One, with all the voices, did you guys get to throw in yours? Mm-hmm. That's so cool. Because like you could see the ghost, so obviously you guys were there.
Yeah, you were there the day that I was there. I think you were. Or maybe you came in the.
No, not in Rogue One.
Not in Rogue One.
No,
but.
I thought you did
Force Awakens. I was in.
Oh, okay.
Very briefly, I did the first alien that died at the camp. You know, it's going like that.
Yeah.
The kind of a red face.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And they're killing him. That. I was the first alien sound that you hear in the new Star Wars movie there.
That's right. I remember that.
And I did some other stuff, and I don't know if they used it and kept it or not.
Trivia, remember that?
Yeah.
Like trivia night. That's got to show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I'm sure
Who's
it was
the
picked
first?
out. It's got to be out there.
Yeah.
I was called in to do voices for Rogue One, and you were asking before if we get excited about or the disconnect about seeing our characters on screen, hearing the voices behind it. Rogue One was one of those rare instances where I'm sitting in the theater and I'm like, oh my God, I did the voice of that trooper. Oh my God, I did the voice of that alien. Oh my God, I'm that Imperial guy. I screamed right there, and it probably came out loud. I was really trying not to, but I got very excited.
Well, see,
it was
now
a Star Wars movie.
I want to watch Rogue One with you so you can point out which ones are you.
Yeah, and I'm still not absolutely clear because they had everybody do their own version of it. I threw out probably a dozen Carabasts in that, and Matt Wood, we all know who Matt Wood is, it was our voice director that day. I don't think he picked up on any of the ones that I did, but he put a Carabast into the film after the fact. He told me that, so I was excited. But there were a lot of little things that we were trying to put in. Actually, when they do what they call donut sit at one point, where everybody's walking around, especially in a crowd scene. So everybody sort of walks around in an oval in front of the microphone. And as we were going around the circle, I would try to call out the name of each person and make it sound like an alien language. So it was like James Arnold Taylor. You know, and I would do that in a different voice as we were walking by. So I'd try to pick out every single person in the room and learn their name and put their name in there. And I don't know if any of that played, but it's built into some of those scenes somewhere.
That's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of the crowd scenes, a lot of the village type scenes. So a lot of that stuff would show up there. I don't know if anybody's picked that stuff out yet. Yeah.
Well, now everyone is.
Watch, right?
Yeah.
Now we're all going to go home and watch Rogue One and be like, okay.
Yeah. And also people in my life too, my crew from my company, my assistant and dear friend Ray Rani, I said her name, and she's from New Zealand, and she's got this really cool exotic name, Ray Rani Taurima. And so I did that in some crazy character voice too, and Trina Wotan.
That's so cool.
Yes, it was really fun. But you do it, you just spread it out, and it sounds like a different language.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was super fun and sort of hidden stuff.
Feel like there's a Facebook question.
Yeah, on Facebook, how do you guys rest and take care of your voices?
Ooh, that's a great question.
A lot of shutting up.
Yeah, first of all, you shut up and stop talking, and you might drink some. I mean, a lot of people seem to have like a lozenge or a special
I have one right here.
thing that they have, and I don't. I might have some warm tea, non-caffeinated tea, and I'll do some vocal exercises that a singing teacher once taught me, and that's about it. It's pretty simple. Just vocal rest is the best.
Yeah, and fluids. Got to drink a lot of. I drink a lot of water.
Yep.
Lubricate before and after. And I use these things. They're it's a Chinese herbal throat drop. Probably inappropriate to give the name of it here, but
Yeah.
yeah. It sounds worse than it is.
It
too,
sounds
actually.
bad.
But
Can I see?
They work really well. It's a different packaging. You've seen them before. It used to be in the other package. But there are a few of us who bring our own remedies. Fred Tatasciore brings like a suitcase full of things. There's something with like 4 Korean names on it that I can't pronounce that's made out of some sort of citrus rind. And we call it Fred juice. And it's this goopy, horrible, drippy stuff. But it coats the whole throat and it makes you feel a little bit better once you've blown yourself out. So I do use those kinds of things too. But literally the best thing to do is to shut up. Just stop.
The very best thing to do is to try to do it so you don't hurt your voice in the first place. And as you get more experience as a voice actor, you come to a point where you don't overwork. You actually work less to get as much or better, but with a lot less vocal strain and effort. And you just kind of learn that. I mean, with a lot of things that we do, ultimately it's gonna hurt, and you're gonna hurt yourself. But when you're earlier in your career, when you're starting out, you'll often just blow yourself out just like that because you don't know to get more of the specifics of what they need first, and then to kind of consult with the engineer to make sure that they know that this part coming up is going to be very loud, so they can work the compressor, so they don't have to go back and re-record it and do the double damage to your voice. Things like that. You pick those up eventually. But once you've done it for a while, you protect yourself as best you can, and then you got the throat coat or the lozenges or the vocal rest. Well,
and especially if you're working with a new director too, who isn't familiar with how vocal stress can damage a person's instrument. And so if I do go in on a game or a session where I know that there's going to be some vocally stressful things, I'll say, okay, how many times am I going to be electrocuted or stabbed in the neck, and can we save
like
that?
you do at a job?
And can we save that for the end of the session? And let's get everything else done, and if we have time, great, and if not, let's do a separate session with that, and then I can go home and bleed.
Well, it's another thing that you learn is to take a little more active role in the management of the session.
Yeah.
Not just to protect your voice, but to make sure that they get everything that they need by the end of the session, because there's only so much gas in the tank, so to speak. And so you help to, as you're saying, to kind of share the workload of the session and spread it out a little bit so that you can make it all the way through and they still get what they want without excessive takes after they have what they need, for instance. Yeah.
And we have another question. It's kind of similar vein. Is there a character that you can't or don't do anymore that you would really like another chance to, if the world permitted?
Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine is sort of been put on the back burner now, I think, because the studio had some deal where they they weren't going to be using voice of Wolverine for a while until the movie franchise was exhausted. That was my understanding. So I've been sitting there waiting by the phone and hoping that I get to audition for it again. And it's not a sure thing either. Even if we do these legacy characters, many times we have to go back in and audition for them because it's a different production team and, and they want to put their own stamp on it, and I respect that.
Yep. You never assume that you don't own the character, so you never assume that it's just always you, or at least I don't.
Right.
There are some instances where some people they feel an ownership, and perhaps rightfully so, of the character, and they feel that it should be them. But for the most part, you just don't assume that as a voice actor, because you'd be honest. There's really great, crazy talent, and people want a different angle sometimes, and you just don't always know.
Awesome. I want you guys to do me a little bit of a favor. So we have 4 winners from last week, and I feel like they each should be announced in like a different character.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first one's from Canada, so I feel like you should take that as a very specific, famous Canadian that you voice. So just say...
But not in a Canadian accent.
I mean...
Oddly enough, yeah.
Yeah, but if you just would like to say the winner of the Iron... Yeah.
Right. I'm announcing the winner of the Iron Man Avengers Assemble statue. This goes to Brad Sargent from Canada. Congratulations, bub.
I don't know.
Number 4, with my crappy Australian accent. Congratulations, Paul Ferris from Australia. Winner of Lobo 6 scale figure. Kids rule.
Nice.
Home them kids next door.
Oh my god.
I'd love to do that show again.
Yeah, that was fun.
I was number 4. The blonde, bellicose one.
I know!
That was me, number 4. Are you okay?
I clearly didn't research you like well enough. Now I'm like, oh my god, he's literally the voice of every cartoon I've ever watched in my life. So maybe Zeb?
Right. Okay, so I'm announcing this one here, yeah. Right, okay. So I'd like to announce the winner of the, don't say the number. All right. R2:Q5 Imperial Astromech Droid. And the winner of that is Stacy Spencer from the US. Woo! Congratulations, Stacy.
That's amazing.
I've heard of your planet.
From the US. How about this Daffy Duck? Okay. Finally, the winner of the Skeletor statue is Stefania Afaf from Afaf.
Did you say what I think you said?
Of course I did. From the U.S., United States. Congratulations, Stefania.
I'm just dying. Oh my god.
There. It's going to be all right.
I know. It's just funny because we talked about me crying all day, and now you're gonna. I know. Now, and since I always butcher everyone's name too, like I'm never gonna be able to announce another winner.
Just do it like that.
You guys did it perfectly in 4 different voices.
Thank you. Exactly like that, and you'll be fine.
Oh my god.
So much fun.
Oh my god.
It's such an honor, too.
I don't even know how to do this.
Well, you're in the splash zone.
I am.
You need a parka? Or
I'm totally good. No, I'm fine.
It's humbling. It's so humbling.
Wow. So.
How winners get their prizes?
Wait, weren't they already contacted?
Oh yeah,
these are from last week. They're from live contest last week, so they're good. But thank you for the reminder because I would have forgotten. I'm very distracted.
House to pick them up.
Yeah, that's why I have the producers here, so that way they can catch my mistakes. So how did you guys get into voice acting? Just quickly to wrap this up, someone wants to know because it's some advice for someone trying to break in to the voice acting world.
Well, my advice is go to my website, iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, and I have all of my long-winded advice there for becoming an actor and a voice actor. All the nuts and bolts about becoming a voice actor, it's all free, there's no ads, It's just information. So that's a great place
What
to go.
is that? Can you repeat that?
I want to be a voiceactor.com.
I want to be a voiceactor.com.
Yes. Other than that, I would recommend live performing in any capacity, especially in front of a live audience. And you want to become an actor. You're not just doing voices, you're doing characters. And so you want to become a confident live performer who's good at improv and probably has a good range of characters, and there's lots of different ways to come at that, not just one way. You don't have to study acting, although some do, but live performing, and then if you want to do animation and voiceovers and games and that kind of thing, Los Angeles is not a bad place to wind up, but I wouldn't start there. I would get your confidence in a smaller market and work your way up to that, because it's going to be a slog. But that's fun.
Patience and passion. Yeah, you have to be passionate about it too, because for a good percentage of your career, if you're considering this as a career, you have to be prepared to do it for a long time for no or little money. And even at this stage of the career, it tends to go up and down. So you can't, it's not a 9-to-5 job. We get fired every single day, so you have to be prepared for that. I recommend I want to be a voiceactor.com every day, and to the point where I've printed up little cards and I hand them out at conventions. But you guys have been pestering me so much for so many years to do something beyond that I actually have created a webinar series with my team here, and it's going to be at bloomvoxstudios.com. This is the first time we're announcing this.
Oh, great.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to be launching
bloomvoxstudios.com.
bloomvoxstudios.com.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to be announcing that officially in about a month or so, and hopefully going live in a couple of months.
But you heard it here first.
You heard it here first, and we're going to be bringing guest stars on the show, and I hope, Dee, that you join us at some point.
Absolutely.
To do that, because I talk about you all the time, and I refer to you all the time.
Oh,
and,
cool.
It's just going to be, the other thing is that this is going to be an affordable way for people to learn about voice acting. And one of my biggest pet peeves is that those who do teach often aren't in the studio every day, and or they will charge an enormous amount of money and make promises that they can't keep. And so we want to avoid both of those things and help people get started on the right track.
That's awesome.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be coming soon. But in the meantime, oh, the Facebook community. Yeah, it's Bloomvox Studios community on Facebook, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm learning this because this is the part of the business.
We can add it to the tags too.
Yeah. So that's up and live today, and we put that up about a week ago, and we have a lot of people in the community now. And you guys can share information amongst each other too, which I think is very valuable. As people are going through this journey of voiceover, especially in the beginning stages, it's great to have support from your peers, and that's something that we didn't necessarily have when we were coming up through the ranks.
That's awesome.
Nope.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Let Your Geek Side Show. For even more ad-free pop culture news and content, visit geeksideshow.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to let your geek side show.